And here we are again, back with another property finance Q&A, and on a quite clear Sunday. It's not Sunday, it's Monday morning. Here we are. So I'm back to run some more questions on property finance, and well, I don't do the questions, you guys do the questions, I do the answers. And give you a little bit of a heads up on what I'm up to this week. So here we are, and armed with my trusty cup of tea, as I like to be on a Monday morning. Well, actually, pretty much every morning. A few of you jumping on board there now. We've got hey, there's John. John saying good morning multiple times. Hello, John. Always good to see you, buddy, and thanks for your comments on my Recycle Your Cash group over the last couple of days. Always good to see you interacting on there. And hey, what do you want to know about property finance? Got anything, any question, anything that's bugging you, anything that mortgage lenders are doing that you think, well, that just doesn't make sense? Why would they do that? So anything you want to ask about that type of thing, then let me know. Fire a question. Now, you could be coming in from YouTube, you could be coming in through LinkedIn, or you could coming in through the Facebook group. Not Facebook group, Facebook page. Can't go in groups anymore. Facebook banned that a couple of years ago, didn't they? Don't want to don't want people to do lives in Facebook groups. Well, lives when they're multi-stream, like I go out through a thing called StreamYard, and it goes simultaneously into Zoopla. Now, Zoopla, where is my head this morning? Through LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook. There we are. So, hey Denise, hi, how you doing? Have you seen I'm going to be doing some boardrooms up near you in April? So I'll give you some more information. Keep yourself free for. Let me look at the dates I'm coming to Birmingham. I'll let you know on that, because we promised ourselves we we're going to spend a day together, didn't we? There you go. John's in with a question. Do bridging rates reflect the Bank of England base rates? That's a great question. It's a great question. And you said the tea looks good, not had yours yet. Well, okay, well, there we are. I come prepared, you see. Always come with a cup of tea. Okay, so let's go back to this question. So, do bridging rates reflect Bank of England base rates? So, in other words, when the Bank of England lowers their base rate, or increases it, of course. I mean, we're in a decrease cycle now, aren't we? We've had, 6 rate reductions in the last 18 months from the peak, where it got to, I think it was about 5.25, wasn't it? It got to, because it rapidly went up from 0.25 to 5.25 in the aftermath of COVID, spiked by energy prices, the COVID whole situation around that, and of course the Ukraine war. 3 events that created a perfect storm, really. But now we're back. Now we're back down, on the way down. But have bridging rates altered in that time? So if you take bridging rates over the last 5 years, where we've gone from 0.25 Bank of England base rate to 5.25, and then we're back down to in the 3 points now, what's happened to bridging rates? They haven't moved an iota, John. Why? Because they're not borrowing money from institutions that are geared around interest rates and Bank of England rates. So this is generally money. In some cases, bridging lenders, it's just family money. I mean, it's tens of millions of family money, but it's family money. So bridging rates are not remotely affected. There's no link between the rate a bridging lender charges and the Bank of England base rate. So no, they don't. And again, as I just said, we've seen a classic example of that. You've seen rates go up in 2022 and come back down again, and bridging rates are pretty much unaltered. So now, I think that gives a degree of comfort, because if you understand bridging, and you now do because I've trained you on it, if you understand bridging, you'll know that you don't have to be nervous about what the Bank of England bank rate is doing when you're working out your costs of a project using bridging finance. You can pretty much rely that they're going to be static. So great question to start off the day. And we're last week it was a very slow burn to get started, but thanks to you guys, because you're straight in with questions this week. And Denise, yeah, good to see you got a question as well. You've been researching to flip a property and regarding flats with short leases, yeah, because we've spoken about that, haven't we? We've spoken that flats with short leases is ideal for your situation. Should you be put off by a flat with a tenant in situ? Yes, you very much should, because if you're going to flip, then even if you fix the short lease, you are significantly limiting your market, because your market to sell a flat with a tenant in situ is other landlords. So you've cut off a whole swathe of the market, which is owner-occupier. So any flat that you buy for the purposes of flipping has to be with vacant possession only. Now, you may decide you want to pursue this flat if it looks really good, but the current landlord has to get the tenant to vacate it before you complete the purchase. So the condition of purchase has to be vacant possession. If that proves difficult, or there's any sort of reluctance to do so, then you've got to say it's not a deal for you. So I would focus on just vacant flats. And look, there's plenty of those around. There's plenty of flats around that don't have a tenant in there. They've been owner occupied, or maybe they've been rented and the tenant's left. So I'd be focusing purely on those. Thanks, Denise. And I'm going to have a quick check at my diary to give you a heads up on a date to block out. Yeah, a couple of dates around. So it's next month in April, either the 23rd or the 25th of April. I'm going to be doing a BRR Boardroom. On the 23rd, it should be in Sutton Coldfield, and on the 25th, it should be in Worcester. So it'd be great for you to come and spend a day with me and learn loads and loads of stuff about BRR and how to make it work. And we'll tailor that to doing it with short leases. I can do that for you in part anyway. So let's get back on screen. Yeah. So 23rd is a Thursday, 25th in Saturday. So Sutton Coldfield on the Thursday, the 23rd, Worcester on Saturday, the 25th, whichever one of those works best for you. I'm going to open up. You can't get tickets for that yet, and there's only 10 places, but I'm going to be opening that up. Should be this week, I think. So there we are. So great question. There we are. Lorna Bover. Hello, Lorna. How are you? God, it's a long time since we've connected. So What's your view on mortgage rates moving forward in 2026? Well, downwards is we've just been discussing that. So downwards is the trajectory, but of course we've had some events over the last couple of days that could alter that downward trajectory, or at least slow it down. So interest rates are primarily, now I'm not an economist, so let's say that straight off the bat, but interest rates are primarily the blunt instrument used to keep inflation on track. Inflation's been stubbornly off track, not massively, not like it has been in recent years, not like it was when it spiked up to 11%, but it's now down to somewhere about 3%. A target, Bank of England sets a target of 2%. So it's been resistantly above that in the 3 to 4% range of, but so what does that mean? It means that interest rates, Bank of England interest rates should keep coming down to try and get that inflation down still further. So you would think so. Oil prices, do oil prices affect property? Not directly, I don't think. There might be some sort of correlation, in some abstract way, but there's no direct reflection on oil prices. I don't think. But there we are. Good and nice to see you. Hope you're well. So John's in with Brent crude oil futures are up 10%. Yeah, well, they would be, I think, given what's happened over the weekend. There we are. So BP share price up, IAG down. Markets are busy. I wonder if that. Look, again, I'm no economist, John. I'm a finance broker, really. That's my expertise, and more specifically, property finance. But look, these, so the Bank of England Monetary Policy Committee, who sits on that? Economists. These are people who have spent their lives working on economics, and they'll understand all sorts of factors. So are they going to be discussing what's going on right now? Yeah, it's got to be part of the discussion, hasn't it? But how it's going to implement it, it's not really my bag to talk about that, if I'm honest. But there we are. So let's have some property finance questions, guys. These were sort of related to that, and Denise's one was very good. That was clearly about property. But there we are. So there we are. Denise, back with another question. On your live last week, you mentioned that to extend the lease of a flat could take up to 12 months. If you don't go down the statutory route, could do. Typically, it's 7 to 9 months. That puts me off flipping flats a bit, should it? No. It's because you're not quite clued up yet on all the different ways that you can structure the purchase. Now, you can either buy it quickly and then just sit on it until that for that period of time. Now, what does that mean? It means you price the cost of sitting on it for up to 12 months into the price you pay. So here's the point, Denise. One of the things I teach people to do on my Ninja Investor training programs is to price up buying a property so you make the same amount of profit regardless of the way you buy it. Now, you could actually do an exchange with delayed completion. That's another strategy that I teach. Now, that means that you actually lock the owner in to selling to you, but you don't complete the purchase until the lease extension is ready to go. So if it takes 7 to 9 months, or even up to 12 months, you don't actually start owning the property until that process is completed. So then you put it straight up for sale. The time lag of extending a lease should absolutely not put you off flipping. What it should inspire you to do is to understand in greater detail how you structure these deals. And I've got years of experience of structuring these short lease deals. Let's chat about how we work together on that. So, great question, and good to see that you watched my last week's broadcast. Yeah, there we are. Good. So we've yeah, no worries. You know, having discussed your situation as we have, I know that that's what you're looking at is the way for you to move forward. You know, so and I think we've also discussed that it's a, you know, look, when you're doing properties like this, when you're buying problem properties and fixing the problem, adding exponential value, most people do it as a commercial exercise. In other words, to make money from either selling the resolved property or renting it out and refinancing. But no reason why this can't work for a property that people want to live in. So that also, you know, is equally valid. And I've helped people to do that before. So yeah, these sort of things can be widely applied in all different sorts of circumstances. John says, I found out by pure accident you also write a blog. Please remind me where to find it. I do actually. I do. It's on my Recycle Cash website. So let me find, I'm going to go now and search it. Yeah, I do. I've been doing it for, well, at least 10 years. And I now do pretty much a piece once a month. And it's sort of a reflective piece. Usually I'm talking about some situation or other. Last month I was reflecting on, we are at the hump point. It's a strange word, isn't it? Or strange context to use that word, of this decade. So we're literally halfway through this decade. And my question to people was, when you sat and plotted out your route through this decade, you know, back in 2020, 5 years ago, and you sort of imagined where you'd be in 2020, at the end of 2025, in other words, halfway through the decade, are you where you thought you'd be? Or are you actually some way off? You could be further in front. But it was a time I think the midpoint of a decade is a natural time to pause, reflect, and think about where we've been and where we want to go, and are we where we thought we'd be back in and there's all sorts of things that I reflect on. So let me go off and find that, and I'll put the link in here. That's a great there, yeah. And I didn't I don't know why you didn't know. I mean, but I guess there's, you know, it's a question of what do I actually point people towards. You know, I think I put in my emails, and you're on my email database, so you would be getting email links to that. Now, I'm going to cut and paste this and take you to there. So let's pop that in here. It's a pretty simple one. I'm just going to pop the link up on the screen for you. And hey, not just for you, John, but anyone else that's watching this live, or if you're even watching the replay, here's where you go. So you go to recycleyourcash.co.uk/blog. There you go. And I know you like to comment on stuff, John. So feel free to take a read, leave some comments. So there we are. So yeah, I do a blog, and that's where it is. So hey, you got a question? Have you got anything? We've been quite good with questions this week. It ebbs and flows. Some weeks we're really busy with questions, which gives me loads to answer. Other weeks we're a little bit quieter. Both are okay. It's just how it is. That's fine. So what is it you want to know? Got any questions around the property finance genre that I can use my 20 plus years experience as a property finance broker to help you with? Now, what am I up to this week? I'm down to Reading and Milton Keynes. I'm going to Reading on Thursday evening. Well, actually, I'm going to Reading on Wednesday evening to prepare for Thursday. So two things are happening in Reading this Thursday the 5th of March. During the day, I'm going to be running a boardroom, and we've still got a couple of places left, actually. So if you're watching this and you can get to Reading, I think we're at the Hilton Hotel in Reading, Thursday all day, and we're going to be running really what it is you need to know to make BRR work. Now, people understand BRR as a thing, but they're not necessarily adept at implementing it. And if you're leaving way too much cash in deals, then you really need to attend, because there's a way to make BRR work predictably and repeatably, and it's just 7 sequential, easy to follow steps. And I've been teaching people how to do that for more than 10 years. So I'll keep looking down there, because I want to see if there's anyone else posting a comment, keeping an eye on it. My little chat box is just down there. So on Saturday, I'm in Milton Keynes. And then next week, I'm in Leicester on Tuesday the 10th and Nottingham on Saturday the 14th. So if you want to come along and really understand how to make BRR work effectively, which means you own a property with next to none of your cash in it within a few months of buying it. So if that's if you're not getting those results from properties, then there's probably something you're missing out. There's probably some element, some angle that you're actually not doing, even if you're doing most of it right. Now, well, that sun's got very bright all of a sudden. So buy, refurb, refinance. It is probably the most powerful concept in property, because it allows you to build £1 million portfolio from a single pot of cash. And I've helped numerous people to do exactly that over the last few years. And another thing you need to be looking at is property chats, because on Thursday evening I'm going to be at the Reading property chat. Now this is midweek evening property networking, as you've always wanted it to be. Now let me put up the property chats. Let's put that up here, because hey, I've got over a dozen of these meetings all going on this Thursday evening. Let's put the link in here while I talk about property chats. Let's get the link up on screen. Here we are. So what are you doing this Thursday evening? Why don't you go to a property meeting? We've got over a dozen at various points in the country. We've got about another 5 opening up in the next few weeks. So there'll be even more chance you've got one locally near to where you are. Now, I don't think too many people's idea of networking is sitting in a seat for a couple of hours and being talked at by a succession of people where you really can't talk. You've just got to listen. And if you start having a little discussion with the person on either side of you, you get a few tuts and a few irritated stares, like shut up and be quiet and listen. Now, if that's not your idea of, well, hang on a minute, where's the networking? Then property chats is a breath of fresh air. You don't have to pay £20 or £30 to attend. You don't have to buy a meal that you might actually not enjoy eating because it's not your type of food. You don't have to sit in a row of seats and passively listen to person after person talking at you about something or other, whether it's a speaker, whether they're pitching to buy some training, whether they're giving you an update of various things. Property chats is a breath of fresh air, people say. Why is that? Because it's free to attend. We don't charge you to come and talk property. You just rock up and you talk. If you can get there early, amazing. If you have to get there a bit later, well, because we're not sat in seats with presentations going on, you haven't got that embarrassment of having to sort of sneak in and not disturb anyone and be as quiet as a church mouse. You just walk in, start chatting, and people love it. And do you know what they love best? And this is what several people said. They said, I can have as long a conversation or short as I want to. If I want to get around to everyone and understand who's there, what they do, how I could help them, how they can help me, great. I can do that. Have little short 5-minute conversations. But if I get someone that I actually resonate with and we've got something that's of interest to each other, we can just sit and chat for an hour. Now, that's almost what it is. It's impossible to function that way and network in the true sense of the word at pretty much every property meeting you can choose to go to. How would I say? Property chats is an oasis of networking in a desert of net sitting. So net sitting, what's that? It's when you actually can't talk to anyone. You're sat silent in a seat being talked at by someone at a property networking meeting, which of course, it really isn't networking as it should be, is it? So property chats. Why don't you check out the link, propertychats.com, really simple. Check the link, and if there's one near you this Thursday night, and even if you can't get to the BRR Boardroom in Reading this Thursday, come to the BRR, come to the property chats in Reading. It's not in the same hotel, I've got to nip across town in Reading, but there I am, and then I'll be at Milton, Keynes on Saturday. So there we are. So a couple of things to look at that are going to dominate my calendar this week. 2 boardrooms and 1 property chats meeting. So there we are. Got any more questions, or are we exhausted? There we are. So some really good questions today. Appreciate that. Thank you very much for those people that have jumped on board today, including Lorna. Haven't seen Lorna for a long while. So good to know Lorna's still around. So I'm going to be back next week. and we're going to do it all again. And there we are. So we're pretty much spot on 9 o'clock. So I say roughly about 30 minutes, but of course every week is different. Some weeks we're going for nearly an hour because people keep asking questions, and here we go. Is there an elevator pitch at property chats? So I'm going to ask you for a bit more definition of what you mean. Do you mean, is it a bit like speed networking where you run around and have 30 seconds to pitch what you're about? Is that what you mean, John? Because if that is, then no. There isn't anything formulaic. The whole point of property chat is it's anti-formulaic. It's not structured in any way at all. What we do is we just rock up and talk to whoever's there for as long as we want to talk to them, and then we'll move on to someone else. So it's random in its nature, and I think that's good, actually. So if I've incorrectly interpreted what you mean by an elevator pitch, I understand the term. It's an American thing, isn't it? Like you should be able to tell someone about your business from when you get in and get out of a lift. We call it a lift in the UK. In America, they call it an elevator. Stand up in the front. Absolutely not. We don't do stuff like that. Yes, I know the meetings that have that. No, don't be doing that. It's too formal. Look, there's not 50 people in a room. So, for the numbers in the room, in the space of a couple of hours or so, you can get to talk to everyone in the room anyway. So, yeah, I know myself. Yeah, no, yeah, I know the meetings you're talking about, and that's okay for them. It's not required, not necessary, and it's property chats thrives on being the antithesis of what you'd expect in a networking meeting. So there we are. So there we go. So I thought I was finished, and then John pops up with another little question. It's a good question, actually. It allowed me to define property chats that bit better. So good. I'm going to wrap up. I think we're done for this week, and I'll come back and we'll do it all again next week. So have a great week, and I'll see you next week on Monday, 8:30. Have a great week. See you then.